I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the greatest villains across some of the most popular cinematic franchises. We'll only be focusing on live action, so no animated bad guys.
You complete me.
Number 20, Megatron, Transformers franchise. As the vicious leader of the Decepticons, Megatron's a villain who has staked his claim as one of the best in the Transformers movies. He always manages to come across as a badass no matter what form he's in, whether it be a giant alien robot or one of his numerous vehicle forms. His bitter yet almost brotherly relationship with Optimus Prime, which we admittedly would have liked to have seen explored more, is also a popular point of interest with the character regardless. He's a Decepticon with plenty to prove who'll stop at nothing to revitalize Cybertron at humanity's expense.
You still fight for the weak. That is why you lose.
A dynamic leader, ruthless tyrant, and scheming megalomaniac, Megatron terrifies humans and Transformers alike. Number 19, Predators, Predator franchise. It's kill or be killed, and if you happen to exist in the Predator franchise, you better hope you aren't part of the latter. The Predators are an entire species of brutal killers. These creatures only know violence, and killing is essentially a main part of their culture. And with their advanced physiology, sophisticated body armor, and plethora of gadgets, they can do a whole lot of that. Something about these hunters just makes them stand out as unforgettable bad guys you love to root against. Whether it's the way they're designed, the way they see everything through thermal vision, or the way they just mercilessly kill everybody, they're instantly iconic. Number 18, the T-1000. Terminator franchise. While Arnie's T-800 was a bad guy turned good, there's pretty much no redeemable qualities about the T-1000.
Get down.
The shape-shifting robot is a whole other level of messed up, more powerful and murderous than the T-800. He has no problem doing anything to assure Skynet's victory. Just the way he can look into your eyes and pierce your soul is unsettling, to say the absolute least. He's just such a dangerous robot that even Skynet figured it'd be best not to make more of him. He might not be as much of a physical presence as Schwarzenegger, but he's definitely the scarier threat. Number 17, Khan Noonien Singh, Star Trek franchise. For as intelligent and adept as the crew of the USS Enterprise are, they've met their match in the form of Khan.
You are in a position to demand nothing, sir. I, on the other hand, am in a position to grant nothing.
A genetically altered human augment, Khan possesses many superhuman abilities, but a lot of that power has also gone to his head. He's a bloodthirsty villain who seized control of Earth and set out to pick fights with the rest of the galaxy. He's more intelligent than we can grasp, and more ruthless than we'd like.
I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet, buried alive.
In fact, parallels were even being made between Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan and real-life extremists. Considered by Spock to be the Enterprise's deadliest threat, we think he lives up to the expectations. Number 16, Dr. Octopus, Spider-Man franchise. Though he redeemed himself at the end of Spider-Man 2, it shouldn't be understated just how violent Dr. Octopus was for a majority of the film. With weaponized robotic arms grafted into his flesh, he terrorizes New York. If you thought Spider-Man was going to get a break from psychopaths after dealing with Green Goblin in the first movie, think again. From subconsciously slaying poor surgeons to kidnapping elderly ants to endangering countless civilians, Doc Ock put Spider-Man through real hell.
Shut it down, Ock. You're gonna hurt a lot more people this time.
Well, that's a risk we're willing to take.
Well, I'm not.
Alfred Molina's brilliant portrayal of the sinister yet tragic scientist endeared him to so many Spidey fans, who were thrilled when he reappeared later in the franchise. This supervillain will grab your attention either with his great characterization or his lethal arms. Number 15, Biff Tannen, Back to the Future franchise. It really doesn't matter what era in time you come across. Pretty much every version of Biff Tannen is a gigantic jerk.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Think, McFly. Think. I gotta have time to get them retyped. Do you realize what would happen if I handed my reports in your handwriting? I'll get fired. You wouldn't want that to happen, would you?
The main antagonist for the Back to the Future films, Biff is the standard obnoxious, boneheaded jock who terrorizes his high school. He's not necessarily the most dynamic villain, as he doesn't fight superheroes or use superpowers, but he still deals out plenty of damage.
Oh, McFly, your shoes untied. Don't be so gullible. gullible, McFly. I don't want to see you in here again.
While he's never been the smartest, his penchant for making the lives of those around him absolute hell proves that he's dangerous. He's the quintessential numbskull who's got just enough resourcefulness to come out on top. Number 14, Auric Goldfinger, James Bond franchise. We don't want to say that having a weapon of mass destruction is at your disposal is a flex, but who are we kidding? It totally is.
Both of us know perfectly well what we are talking about, Mr. Bond. But I see that it is necessary to remind you. Our job! Many people have tried to involve themselves in my affairs, unsuccessfully.
Auric Goldfinger is a classic Bond villain known primarily for his diabolical scheme called Operation Grand Slam. There's just something about threatening to drop an atomic bomb that exudes both pure insanity and a great villainous aura at the same time.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
He's also not a Bond villain who looks evil right away, as the visually striking Ernst Blofeld does. Sure, he doesn't look like the average Joe either, but would you really expect the guy sipping mint juleps while wearing a cardigan to be as deranged as he actually is? Number 13, John Kramer, Jigsaw, Saw franchise. Determined to show people the importance of life after failing to take his own, John Kramer creates the enigmatic persona of Jigsaw and places unsuspecting people into his murderous traps.
You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
The level of care and detail that goes into creating these killing machines is both methodical and messed up. He manipulates people into doing horrific things in order to survive while he's still alive and then still manipulating people even after his death. In a way, Kramer represents the worst of humanity considering what he puts people through.
Yes, I'm sick, officer.
Stop! Like, Sergeant easier!
Sick from the disease eating away at me inside. Sick of people who don't appreciate their blessings. Sick of those who scoff at the suffering of others.
We won't get too specific on just how deadly these traps are, but believe us when we say they're truly grotesque. Teaching others about the value of life has never looked more horrifying. Number 12, Immortan Joe, Mad Max franchise. Burning rubber is an act of prayer in Mad Max, and for the denizens of this wasteland, their prayers go to Immortan Joe.
I am your redeemer. It is by my hand you will rise from the ashes of this world.
He's like if an overweight, even more asthmatic Darth Vader never left Tatooine and instead ditched his pod racer for a monster truck. He's a cruel warlord who sees people as property, and that's especially reflected through how he treats his 5 wives. Some might argue that his master plan of ensuring that healthy babies are born isn't all that nefarious, but the execution of said goal is nightmarish.
Put a bullet in her skull. Stop the rig. Return my treasures to me. And I myself will carry you to the gates of Valhalla.
We trust that you can understand why Immortan abducting women to be his wives and locking them away is problematic. This guy's less of a saint and more of a false prophet. Number 11, Ghostface, Scream franchise. The poster boy for the Scream franchise is pretty much just a killer who stabs people while in dark robes and a Halloween mask. But it's this simple concept that essentially revived the slasher genre. The other interesting angle to Ghostface is that it's not really a person but more like a title, as multiple people don the mask in each new movie. Think of it as an R-rated take on the Spider-Man mantra of anyone can wear the mask.
If it's you two, that just leaves Mindy. Hey, roomies.
In this case, it's probably best that nobody dons this specific one. The Ghostface character proves that sometimes all you need to do to create a cultural phenomenon is go back to the basics. Number 10, Xenomorphs, Alien franchise. The Xenomorphs are some of the most recognizable and terrifying creatures in all of cinema. They first showed up in Ridley Scott's Alien and soon appeared in numerous other projects. They're nasty parasites who have a penchant for sucking faces and bursting chests. They can also move pretty fast and possess an exoskeleton which can protect them from all kinds of damage. We know they're not real, but the way these animatronic monsters move and act is just so dynamic it's easy to forget.
Get away from her, you bitch!
The Xenomorphs are just these perfect sci-fi creepy crawlies that remind us of the dangers that are lurking in the shadowy depths of outer space. Number 9, Magneto, X-Men franchise. Magneto's been a thorn in the X-Men side for decades. He seems like he has noble intentions by wanting to protect mutant kind, yet his desire to extinguish humanity to achieve that works against our sympathies.
I will bring you hope, old friend. And I ask only one thing in return. Don't get in my way.
but he's not a generic bad guy either. The intriguing thing about him is definitely his tragic past. Sure, many villains have tragic pasts, but the fact that Magneto was a Holocaust survivor adds an extra level of depth to the character. He wasn't just wrong, he was put through one of the darkest chapters in history and lived to tell the tale.
There is no land of tolerance. There is no peace, not here, nor anywhere else. Women and children, whole families destroyed simply because they were born different from those in power.
He's one of the most dangerous mutants the X-Men have faced, but also one of the greatest villains in the Marvel Universe. Number 8, Freddy Krueger, a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It's always a nightmare when Freddy Krueger's around. With a burned face and razor blades strapped to his fingers, he made a hell of a first impression in the first Elm Street film, and has continued to throughout the series.
Come to Freddy.
But what might be more memorable is his ability to visit people in their dreams and kill them. He's also not a stoic serial killer by any means, as he's been known to have a truly wicked sense of humor.
You can check in, but you can't check out.
It's his stylish charisma, unsettling design, and murderous appetite that's made Freddy one of the staples of the horror genre. Number 7, Agent Smith, the Matrix franchise. Are we in a simulation? Agent Smith lives in one, and we know for a fact that he hates it. Tasked with making sure the Matrix remains stable, Smith hunts down those that pose threats to it.
You disappoint me. You can't scare me with this Gestapo crap. I know my rights. I want my phone call.
Tell me, Mr. Anderson, what good is a phone call if you're unable to speak?
He's a computer program who's also a trained killer decked out in stylish suits and rocking a sleek pair of shades at all times. The idea of AIs being sentient and potentially even sinister is an interesting concept, but Agent Smith goes even further by being an AI whose bitter hatred extends past just the humans and also to the Matrix itself.
I must get out of here. I must get free. And in this mind is the key, my key. Once Zion is destroyed, there is no need for me to be here. Do you understand?
It's the pure irony of someone whose whole goal is to protect the Matrix also loathing it that makes him so compelling. Number 6, Michael Myers, Halloween franchise. Who knew that a painted William Shatner mask and blue coveralls would eventually become the unforgettable wardrobe of a horror icon? Michael Myers is the definition of a silent killer. He lurks in the shadows, he stalks the innocent, and he kills in some particularly inventive ways. He's one of the most instantly recognizable slashers, and for good reason. It takes a lot for some villains to win audiences over, but Michael has achieved fame unlike any other. He rarely speaks, instead choosing to communicate through the language of violence. At the end of the day, this isn't some run-of-the-mill mass murderer. Michael Myers may just be the epitome of evil. Number 5, Sauron, the Lord of the Rings franchise. Gigantic floating eyes have never looked more menacing. While Gollum is a surprisingly complex villain with a steady fanbase, Sauron's the final boss who fans gravitate towards. The forger of the One Ring, he's a force of darkness capable of devastating entire armies just on his own.
The Dark Lord Sauron forged in secret a master ring to control all others. And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life.
Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings adaptation lifted Sauron seamlessly from the page and arguably made him even more terrifying. While he can and has adopted many forms, his most infamous is the Eye. Many have given instinct interpretations as to what Sauron represents, but most can agree that he's a near-perfect encapsulation of true darkness. Number 4, Thanos, Marvel's Cinematic Universe. It's no secret that the MCU has had a villain problem. Unless you're someone as charismatic as the trickster god Loki, chances are you're just a generic evildoer who is expendable. Thanos, thankfully, isn't that at all.
I shall honor our agreement, Kree, if you bring me the order. But return to me again empty-handed, and I will bathe the Starways in your blood.
He's a tried and true big bad and the villain that the entirety of the Infinity Saga hinges upon. His ambitions are seriously messed up, and what's even more messed up is that he succeeds in his plans and wipes out half of all life.
You should have gone for the head.
Yeah, the Avengers eventually beat him and fixed things in Endgame, but Thanos made his mark. How many villains in the MCU so far have even come remotely close to what Thanos has done? Number 3, Voldemort, Harry Potter franchise. There's a reason Voldemort's often called He Who Shall Not Be Named. This pioneer of the dark arts is a terrifying presence both on and off the screen.
I'd introduce you, but word has it you're almost as famous as me these days. The boy who lived.
With a ghastly physical appearance and a twisted personality, Voldemort only wants to destroy Harry Potter and stake his claim at the top. He's certainly got the tools to do it too, possessing mastery over dark magic like no other.
From this day forth, you put your faith in me.
Voldemort shed his skin as the former Tom Riddle in order to embrace his darkness, and that's made him one of the most prolific dark wizards in all of pop culture. Number 2, Joker. Batman franchise. Some were skeptical when Heath Ledger got cast as the clown Prince of Crime for The Dark Knight, but his portrayal soon became the gold standard.
What do you propose?
It's simple. We kill the Batman.
His Joker is far more than a simple prankster or a cunning criminal. He's a force for chaos and a mascot for anarchy who pushes Batman to his limit and brings Gotham's rottenness out to the surface. He's the perfect foil for the Capes Crusader, and the complexity of their relationship is still discussed at length today.
But I know the truth. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
The Dark Knight is essentially one of the greatest superhero movies out there, and that wouldn't have been possible without Heath Ledger's extraordinary Joker. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Darth Vader, Star Wars franchise. There might not be any villain who is ingrained into pop culture as Darth Vader. We all know his story. Once promising Jedi Anakin Skywalker fell to the dark side and trained under Darth Sidious, a terrifying villain in his own right.
You're fulfilling your destiny, Anakin. Become my apprentice. Learn to use the dark side of the Force.
His fall from grace and eventual path to redemption through meeting his son Luke is a story that transcends movies. It's practically myth. Vader has single-handedly slain Jedi, enslaved civilizations, terrified fellow Sith warriors, and more. He's a villain whose appearance doesn't just grab your attention, but demands it.
There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you.
Every detail from his unforgettable suit of armor to his sleek black cape to the sound of his raspy breathing forms our favorite bad guy of all, Darth Vader. Is there a franchise big bad we missed? Let us know in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.